And Hannah, if you want to pause for a second, the live stream has an issue, and I will tell you, and then you can do your statement so it doesn't get missed.
Sounds good.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
Okay, I think we're up now.
Okay, I'll start over then. So, hi, my name is Hannah Shahan. I am running for Senator at Large. I am currently a freshman and the freshman senator on student government. And my candidate statement is this past year, I've been very grateful to represent the class of 24 on student government and would love to continue representing them next year, while also having the opportunity to expand my group to all other students on campus as well.
Thank you, Hannah. Next up, I have Amina.
Hello, my name is Amina Sahig. I'm currently a freshman and I am running for the position of senator for the School of Engineering. And I will also pull up my candidate statement. As senator, I promise to accurately represent the students that I serve and to take every idea or concern into account. I want to ensure that every student has a fantastic college experience and feels welcomed and respected here at SIUE.
Thanks, Mina. Mackenzie.
Hi, my name's Mackenzie. Oh, there's two Mackenzies.
Oh, Mackenzie Randolph, you can go first.
Okay. My name's Mackenzie Randolph. I am a candidate for student body vice president. My candidate statement is, I enjoyed serving as senator for the School of Engineering, and as vice president, I will work closely with the student body president to implement changes to help students thrive at SIUE. I plan on increasing sustainability on campus and assisting students prosper in a safe and inclusive environment.
Second, Mackenzie.
Hi, I'm Mackenzie Bass. I am a freshman in the School of Business, and I am running for Senator of Student Business. My candidate statement is, as a highly active student in the SIUE School of Business, I would love the opportunity to advocate for fellow business students and expose them to the benefits of our program and extracurriculars, while bridging the gap between the School of Business and the rest of the university.
Thank you. Julia.
Hi, I'm Julia Gorin. I'm running for student body president. My candidate statement is, I'm honored to serve as the current senator for the College of Arts and Sciences, People and Culture. As student body president, I plan to continue advocating for a more accessible and inclusive campus, promoting more involvement, and continuing to raise awareness for mental health and sexual assault awareness and prevention.
Ricky.
Hi, my name is Ricky Beck, and I'll be running for student trustee. As trustee, I will advocate for the student body by creating resources for students to give feedback, such as polls, surveys, and reaching out to students in any chance I get. Along with this, I will be giving a 1 to 5 minute video recap that will recap the trustee meetings and speak about how these items will impact the student body and SIUE.
Thank you. Brittany.
Hi, my name is Brittany. I am in the School of Pharmacy. I'm running for School of Pharmacy Senator. My candidate statement is, as a School of Pharmacy Senator, my mission will be to connect the students in the School of Pharmacy to the many opportunities available on main campus and vice versa.
Awesome. Taylor.
Hi, my name is Taylor Kaysen. I'm running for the School of Business Senator. And as a leader in the Panhellenic community with experience in business, I have the necessary leadership and communication skills to represent your voice. I want to plan more safe in-person opportunities for students to get involved, meet their peers, and network.
Thank you. Kushal.
Hello, my name is Kushal Shah. I'm a freshman running for Senator at Large. And my statement is, as a senator, I hope to take into account the opinions of all students and help find compromise that best suits everyone. I'm directly trying to increase student focus on environmentalism, mental health, and cultural diversity.
Thank you. Isabella.
Hi, I'm running for vice president, and all right, let me pull up my candidate statement real quick. All right, okay. Taking action and getting results. As your vice president of the student body, I advocate for you and your goals while continually promoting diversity, sustainability, and mental wellness while we move forward and back to normalcy. I vow to make SIUE students my #1 priority.
Wonderful. Haley.
Hi, my name is Haley Odell. I'm running for student body president. My candidate statement is, your vote helps decide the future of student advocacy. As student body president, I would work towards changing policies such as requiring students to be enrolled in summer courses to work through student employment, providing students previous course syllabi prior to registration, and providing funding for free on-campus hygiene projects.
Awesome. Clinton.
Hi, my name is Clinton Jones. Hi, my name is Clinton Jones. I'm running for the School of Engineering Senator position. As a senator, I want to improve the overall experience for the students of SIUE by making sure that their voices are heard and that the appropriate actions are taken, and to continue assisting the students in the School of Engineering and the engineering FIC communities.
Wonderful. Ronald.
Hello, my name is Ronald Agpan, and I will be running for the Graduate Center position. As a Graduate Center, I would like to be the glue that connects graduate students between themselves and campus, because a lot of activities have not really been catered to graduate students. So I'd like to be that voice that speaks for them and allows them to have their needs listened to.
Awesome. Nicole.
Hi, my name is Nicole Ober, and I'm running for Senator for the School of Education, Health, and Human Behavior. And my candidate statement is, I am so excited to potentially serve as your next Senator for the School of Education, Health, and Human Behavior. My vision is to help people know more about how to apply to their programs and how their programs are working with COVID happening.
Awesome. And finally, Maddie.
Hi, I'm Maddie Walters, and I'm sorry that I don't have a webcam available today, but I am a third-year student and a candidate for student trustee. Representing SIUE students as student body president this year has been an incredibly rewarding experience, but my work is not done yet. As student trustee, I will continue to advocate for students and create a university community that is inclusive, diverse, and exciting.
Wonderful, thank you. And thank you to all candidates for sharing your statements and a brief introduction of yourselves. For those who are listening and watching, we have an outstanding group of students who are interested in representing the student body here at SIUE for this upcoming academic year. How the next part of this debate will work is I have a list of questions that I will ask. Many of them are open to all candidates. If there's a question that is specifically for the president, the vice president, or the student trustee candidates, I will make that known. But otherwise, anyone is open to answer these questions. So I will just kind of get us started on kicked off. This is the first question open to anybody. What do you believe is the primary mission and role of student government? And how will you work to achieve this mission/role during your term if elected to student government?
So I can go. So, as a member of student government, this is my second year currently. I was senator at large last year, and I'm currently the vice president. So I believe the biggest thing with representing students is just listening to them. That's, why we're all applying for this. So and by listening, I mean, talking to them, seeing maybe what they believe is strong, what they believe is one of the best things at SIUE, what they believe is one of the lower parts. So just knowing what they like, what they don't like, and trying to find ways to maybe fix those issues or find a way to maybe find a compromise that satisfies most students or even the ones that you are specifically reaching out to, regardless of what position you have.
Awesome. Thank you, Ronald. Hannah.
I think I 100% agree with Ronald, but it's also just making sure that you engage with students as well. Whether that be, if somebody has a concern on one of the Facebook groups that hasn't been addressed, or just making sure you're answering questions when they're reaching out to whoever it may be. I know one of the ways that I did that this past year was during COVID policy changes. I made sure that all of my students really understood them and had access to these resources, and made sure that the big picture ideas were communicated in a different way than just the website that the COVID information was on. I think going forward, I really want to make sure that those university policy changes are communicated to students more effectively, and that student government has a really big role in getting those out to university students through more ways than just the mass emails.
Thanks for sharing, Hannah. Mackenzie.
I definitely agree with what Hannah and Ronald both said, but I would like to expand upon that because I see the student government role as a bridge, and it's a bridge that goes both ways because oftentimes students aren't informed about things that are going on. I know as someone who really wanted to be involved in the School of Business, there were several clubs that weren't even on Get Involved that I really struggled to find. And now as treasurer of one of those clubs, the Student Economic Association, I really want to get people able to see these clubs. But then the other way, if there's students that need something that we aren't providing yet, I want to be that person that those students can come to, and we can work to make that happen, because what students' needs are our top priority.
Thanks, Mackenzie.
Can we just start talking? I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt.
Nope, yep, you're good. You can go,
Okay.
Haley.
I really love what Mackenzie just said about student government being a bridge between students and administration. I think that the role of student government is really to advocate for students and be a voice for them, which is our motto. So that's what I believe the role of student government is.
And I was going to also mention, like, as a freshman senator, and like being here as a new student, I've noticed just like it was hard for me to get involved, and I felt like I had to go out of my way to get involved. And especially since a lot of students don't want to, I mean, they want to get involved, but they don't want to go out of their way for it. I think student government is the place that they can like be there and say, hey, this is how we can get things done. This is how you can be involved in things and stuff like that. So I think student government is a way to advocate for the students and represent them instead of representing your own beliefs. So that's my personal belief.
Great, thank you. Ricky.
I totally clicked the wrong button at first, but so as far as student government goes for me, I think it's really, it's like a place that gives you a voice and it makes you feel like you belong there. Before I really joined student government, before I really got to communicate with people, I never really felt like I belonged to SIUE. I never really got that connection. And so if we can figure out ways to extend that via just polls or surveys or Instagram or any kind of social media, just to make people feel more at home or make people feel more comfortable, that's really think what student government does. It allows people just to, this is their first step in the real world, right? And so I think this is the first step to allow them to really be able to freely express themselves without the repercussions of the people they went to high school with, the repercussions of the people they used to live with. And I think student government is the best place for that.
Thanks, Ricky.
I want to pause and ask for Sean and Kylie to introduce themselves. Just share your name, what you're running for, and your candidate statement.
We'll start with Kylie.
Hi, I'm Kylie Jackson. I'm a freshman and I'm running for Senator at Large. And my goal is to be a voice for unheard students and minorities. I want to advocate for mental health needs and encourage students to utilize campus resources, as well as enhance the college experience.
Thanks, Kylie. Sean.
Hi, I'm Sean Gillis. I'm a graduate student. I'm running for the graduate senator position. I don't have my candidate statement handy, but I will say that my objective is to better help students in acclimating back to maybe more campus life, and especially with graduate students being able to form those study groups and get the resources they need, transitioning from virtual to physical learning.
Wonderful. So our next question is, what are some of the goals that you hope to achieve during your time in your position if elected? Amina.
During my time as senator, I definitely want to highlight all the mental health resources we have on campus. I know personally I've struggled with mental health, and I sort of had trouble sort of finding out what we had. And I have friends that didn't know where to go, and I had to direct them to the resources that we have. So I would like to make that more known. And I would also like to expand on that as well. I think we could do a lot more with that.
Thank you. Mackenzie.
So my goals, if elected as vice president, firstly, I would work closely with the president to help accomplish goals of students that they have. But also I would like to have increasing sustainability. I would like to enact a weekly farmer market to with local businesses to promote healthy options for students and also expand food security. I would also like to expand and promote the Cougar Cupboard. I believe that encouraging students to continue to donate will help their peers succeed. I also have a fall and spring break initiative. I believe that all students should have a break in the fall and the spring semester to relieve themselves from school. I believe it will promote mental health and help students decompress. I also have a mental health day resolution. I believe that all students should have mental health days before finals and during the semester to finish projects or papers that they have, and it allows students to study and focus on themselves and recuperate from school.
Wonderful. Thanks, Mackenzie. Hannah.
I'm just going to hit on two of mine real quick, just so that everybody has a chance to. Two that I really want to focus on. One I've worked on a little bit this year is better coordination with academic advising. I think that we as students have this great opportunity to utilize our academic advisors, but sometimes it's hard to actually get with them and, for them to understand what our true motivations are. So by coordinating and having some kind of pre-planning sheets before we go to advising sessions, I think that would be really helpful. And I've worked with Norris Manning in the Office of Academic Advising in the School of Business so far this year to do that, and will continue to. I also think that creating more events between alumni and students is really important. We have such a great base of alumni that we can utilize to help students find resources within their prospective fields, and utilizing them with events and other planning and coordination, such as mentorship programs, is really something that I want to advocate for and plan on doing in my next term.
Wonderful. Thank you, Hannah. Julia.
So I'm just going to touch on a few of mine here, just in case other people want a chance to go as well. But I would really like to expand the resources provided by the Career Development Center, specifically like to create an accessible database for students to regarding to access their finding internships for their majors, because I know that's been super difficult. And then something else that I've talked to students about that I think is super important is having a mid-semester faculty review survey to be completed by students. So that way professors know what they need to improve on before the end of the semester.
Mackenzie.
A lot of what I want to do and the work that I want to do this year definitely concerns advocacy for the School of Business. So something that I would love to do is I would either love to either create an Instagram or create some extra help on Get Involved for a lot of the very young clubs that are in the School of Business, because there are several that are less than 2 years old, and a lot of them aren't even on Get Involved, let alone on any sort of social media. So that's really important for me. And also, as an incoming freshman last year, I never got to meet a soul at the School of Business before stepping foot on campus. And I'd like to create a program where incoming freshmen can meet people and gain that community before they ever step foot on campus, because that's really important.
Wonderful. Thanks, Mackenzie. Taylor.
Hi, I would like to make students' lives better by achieving one of my goals, which was to get more discounts, internships, and jobs for students from businesses in the community, and would even offer students to negotiate these partnerships with me to help create or to help achieve their skills within the career of business.
Wonderful. Thank you. Anybody else want to share before we? Oh.
Yeah, so Izzy and I are actually running on the same platform, so we'll just kind of both talk a little bit. One thing that we want to do is really advocate for students and hold administration accountable for decisions that they make, meaning that they're making decisions in the interest of students. And then also we want to support non-traditional students, such as I can't remember the name of it, like students that come back to college, not straight out of high school. I've talked to a couple of them, and I feel that they aren't represented through student government. So I definitely want to make sure that we're doing that the best we can, as well as we want to implement a dead week. And a couple of former student body presidents have tried this, and it hasn't gone through, but they've told us what does work and what doesn't work. So we want to implement this. This just means that professors can't assign big projects or exams the week or the couple days before finals week, so that you have time to study for your final exams as well.
And I just wanted to mention, representation and stuff like that. So I've noticed after reaching out to different student organizations and just, being a freshman, luckily being able to be on campus, having that community, is that people feel like they aren't being told what student government is. A lot of people that I've talked to just about, what I believe in don't even know what student government is or what we do. So I think it's really important as a vice president candidate that we tell people what is student government, since we are representing these students, they should know what we are and what we do. And our job is not to tell them what they want and here's my platforms, here's what I want to do. It's that, but it's also telling them telling us what we want to do. What do they need from us?
Just being more transparent all around. That's all we have.
Great. Thank you. Seeing no one else, we'll move on to our next question. What do you think are the most pressing issues facing SIU students today? And then how would you advocate to solve or address those issues or concerns? And who would you involve in that? Sean.
Yeah, so what I believe the most pressing issues with students today are acclimating themselves maybe back to the physical environment from the virtual environment, dealing with the anxieties and the restrictions with the COVID pandemic, and all the things associated with that. So for example, mental health, I think that's a big thing we need to tackle at SIUE. We need more resources and counseling. We need to encourage people to reach out if they're having any issues with that. And yeah, those are really the issues I think we're facing. And I think the ways we can solve that are to increase access to resources, increase awareness, really kind of keep everyone in the loop and keep everyone feeling more safe and secure, and feel like they're not alone.
Great, thank you. Maddie.
I agree with what Sean said, and I would also want to add that the challenges that SIUE students are facing this year are unlike anything students have had to face before in their college careers. So accessibility to college resources, to your professors, to classmates, to study groups, to technology have been a huge, huge challenge for students this year. And I think in order to overcome that, we would need to work with all different types of departments on campus, with the provost, with ITS, with Access, and work together and really just do the best that we can for students with everything that they're facing.
Great, thank you, Maddie. Isabella and Haley, did you want to say something?
Yes, thank you. The biggest struggle that SIU students are facing right now is definitely COVID-19, obviously, like Maddie was saying. And with that, the academics and the mental health deficits that come along with that. So just trying to, whenever it's safe, not before it's safe, but as soon as it's safe, to go back to normalcy, pushing for that, and providing more resources for students until then with mental health services and with academics more, because a lot of students have said that they are struggling with certain classes, especially STEM classes. So just providing tutors or some kind of academic resources there, so that until COVID is gone and we can be back on campus forever, just providing extra help for those students who are struggling.
Thank you. Hannah.
I think that, Haley makes a really good point, but so does everybody else that's kind of talked so far. I think that the biggest thing, though, is we have so many resources on our campus that students have access to, but with the COVID-19 pandemic, there have been so many difficulties transitioning those over to a virtual environment and ensuring that students have access to them. So I think the biggest struggle facing students right now is actual access to the resources that have been created for students in the past, and making sure we bridge that gap and ensuring that they are present in a virtual environment is extremely important. I know myself, I didn't even realize that some of my asynchronous classes had the opportunity to email all of the students in my class to create study groups and things until this semester. So making those, features that are on Blackboard active to students and aware to students is extremely important in making sure that, especially the freshmen, create, a sense of environment here that is manageable to them and that they're not alone.
Great, thanks, Hannah. Ronald.
Yeah, mine's very similar to Hannah's as well. Just an overall lack of connections virtually. I know personally, and a lot of people that I know that I've spoken to are doing their classes virtually. So they may I've been in class with some of my friends for since fall of 2019. So that's the only reason I know most of them. But I know for some people who maybe just started out at SIUE who are new, who have class people they don't know, it's definitely hard to have those connections, even especially if they're virtual. So yeah, just expanding on the virtual options, just catering to all students, making sure that they have all the accessible tools necessary to thrive in their academic environment. And I know personally too, I'm planning to be a graduate senator. So a lot of graduate students may not have started out at SIUE. So they're coming into there with their undergrad degree with no connections. So just maybe finding a way to work with graduate advisors to hold a fair or just any way that can connect them to career opportunities, whether it's in the Edwardsville area, in St. Louis, or just wherever they desire to be after they're done with their schooling.
Great, thank you. Mackenzie.
I believe one of the most pressing issues right now is student engagement, especially during this pandemic. Students aren't focused on their classes. They're trying to just catch up, and focus on themselves while doing that, which is a very hard task. I believe one way we could solve that is continually making improvements in the classrooms. And I'm hoping that next semester will at least be somewhat on campus, so that'll help as well with student engagement. But one way we could make sure that students are being engaged in their classrooms and focusing on their schoolwork while being having fun on campus as well. We could make sure we could send out surveys, make sure that students are doing okay, and we could also ensure that students are accessing Blackboard and all the other platforms to make sure that professors are doing what they should be doing as well.
Great, thank you. So something it sounds like I've heard pretty broadly across the board is this need to focus on students and in-person engagements as we kind of think about the fall semester, and this lack that they've had over this last whole year on in-person opportunities and events and programs, just really the opportunity to make meaningful connection with one another. If elected, how would you work to achieve that this upcoming year for your constituents and then the larger student body? Ricky.
So I think the first thing starts with communication, right? So we talk about the accessibility, we talk about the mental health, and not a lot of people are really aware of the things you can do on Blackboard, or the things you can do on campus for mental health awareness or for the materials that we need to succeed at school. As far as student trustee goes, I would like to utilize the video recaps that I want to create to try to communicate these kind of things and say, hey, this is what we have on campus. This is what's available in case you knew, or hey, as a friendly reminder, this is what's going on. This would allow people just to kind of say, oh yeah, we have that, or oh yeah, this is what is on campus. So the more communication we have, the more you talk about something, the more it becomes known. And so just the more networks and connections you make to it, the more it's going to be used and more accessible to every other student.
Great, thanks, Ricky. Mackenzie.
I definitely agree with Ricky. So I really want to compound and build off of that. With a lot of the work that I want to do as far as advocacy for the School of Business goes, it's just that it's being able to communicate. And something that I believe is very important is also organized communication, because you might see one poster here, one poster there, but if we're able to create, whether it might be an Instagram page or whether it's a website or something like that, where we have all of our opportunities listed, or if we can even just update Get Involved for the School of Business, that would be something that is so valuable to students because they can see what's there without having to do all of the dirty work of going through every single website, just trying to hold on to something that they might find interesting, which is very important, especially when you're younger and you're a freshman. And again, helping those incoming freshmen and creating programs where they can be knowledgeable, I think is very important.
Absolutely. Isabella and Haley.
Yes, so this is actually it. We in our platforms is student involvement, and so one of the things that we would like to see is there's always like the involvement fairs kind of at the beginning of the in the fall semester that is available for freshmen and for Springboard. But we would like to see more of those throughout the year because a lot of times freshmen are intimidated to go to those, to talk to those people at first, to see where they might fit in at SIUE. So just kind of more of those throughout the year and just more opportunities for student organizations to put their names out there, as well as encouragement and making it an easier process to table in freshman dorms because it's very difficult to get a table in the residence halls in general. So, and that's the target audience for new members for organizations. So having more opportunities for student organizations to put themselves out there throughout the year.
Great, thank you. Julia.
So something that I've currently been working on actually is 3 accessibility resolutions, and this does pertain more to like people who are part of the access department, students who are receiving accommodations through access. But I have noticed that there is not a revised or like an updated evacuation plan. And I have actually heard some like pretty horrifying stories from past years about faculty and like students not being able to figure out like how to navigate that, especially in some of the older buildings. So as we begin to update these buildings, we also need to think about like accessibility for those who have like physical impairments. And then something else I've noticed is that the snow is piled into the accessible parking spaces, and that there's already so few of them. So that's just like something that cannot happen. You cannot put the snow there. And also the ramps, all of the ramps need to be treated and cleared whenever there's snow or ice, anything like that. And then something else also that I just wanted to add is that I know that there's been issues with some faculty not knowing how to properly use Blackboard and like really use it to like its full extent also. So I think that it would be really nice if there was like some required training or like a mandatory training, and also that they would be able to have current grades readily available to students, because I know that's been a huge concern from a lot of people. But also in regards to the access thing, again, I really do want to make sure that all university sponsored events have like an accessible component for those who maybe can't do something that's like a physical thing. You know, there needs to be some other component so that it's inclusive for all students.
Great, thanks, Julia. Hannah.
Hi, sorry, I don't want to take up too much time, but I'm actually leaving early, so because I have class, so I want to try to get a few things in now. I just wanted to say, I think that making sure that we have a streamlined process for these organizations behind the scenes is extremely important to the aspect of student engagement as well, because we can use Get Involved and we can use things like Places to Be at the E. But I know personally for one of the events that I hosted this year, it happened so fast because it was in a virtual environment that by the time it was planned, I couldn't even put it on Places to Be at the E because you have to have it in 2 weeks prior to the event. So making sure that, you know, students who are in organizations know these things prior to it, and making sure they have access and know how to use the event planning guides on Get Involved to post those events for students to find. And then also on the other side of it, making sure students know that that's where events are posted. I think it's just half of the battle in the first step in making sure students know about things so that they can be engaged in things. Because if they don't know about it and students on the club and organization side who are hosting the events can't access those resources that we're supposed to be using, then there's no point in having them almost. So I think making sure that that's done first is that first step in getting more student engagement.
Thanks, Hannah. Awesome. Thank you all for sharing. Our next question, I would love to start with our presidential candidates, but this is also something I would love to hear from anybody who's willing to share. This past week, we heard from various SIUE administrators discussing the work being done at SIUE related to the university's reckoning with systemic and institutional racism and an institutional journey towards justice. What role do you believe student government plays or has in dismantling racism and moving towards racial justice?
Okay, I'll go first. So I believe that the first step in dismantling racial injustice is to talk about it and to have just a discussion, being open for discussion, sorry, for just anything like that. So one of our ideas is to have an anonymous forum somewhere on the student government website where people can put something in that they have maybe heard or experienced at SIUE, and we can do everything that we can to fix that or to address it and just make all students here feel welcome, as well as we would like to see on the student government social media sites infographics and just things like that about all things diversity and inclusion of all different types, just to get awareness out there and be open to discussion.
I'm just going to go ahead and chime in here. So what Haley just said is pretty much very similar to what I would like to see if elected as student body president as well. But I also just wanted to emphasize that there is the Black at SIUE Instagram page, and student government has been like pretty close with that. But I think just kind of like what Haley was saying, making it more broad so that it's not just people of color, but also people who have, like people of all, like the LGBTQ, all nationalities, ethnicities, gender identities, ability, regardless of any of these things, the socioeconomic status and religion also.
Thank you. Maddie.
Student government is an advocate for students, and that includes all students. It's a very diverse group of people, and it's important to remember that we need to advocate for everybody. In the different committees and responses that the university has had, you will see student government representation on University Diversity Council, the Bias Incident Response Team, the Anti-Racism Task Force. And that is great that we have that student representation, but we also, as student representatives, need to listen to all students and get stories from a diverse group of people so that we can better advocate for them and listen to what is needed and what we can do to help.
Thank you, Maddie. Ricky Beck.
So this is a really hard thing to tackle, right? So I feel like there's not just one answer to this, but there's a couple of different ideas behind it. I think the first thing and foremost is about educating. You can't do anything without educating, communicating with people about these kind of things, about how Asian hate goes on or how these kind of things happen in the world. And it's not just one area, this happens everywhere. And so obviously getting it out there, communicating it is the most important thing. Next thing after educating and communicating people, I think you have to model the way. You have to actually act the way. Every single person in this lobby is a student leader in one way or another. 10 to 20 to 200 people have probably looked at you for some sort of role model in some asset of life up until this point. And so you have to hold yourself accountable, and you have to maybe not target, but talk to the leaders in each community at SIUE, the School of Business or the School of Engineering, like every single part of it, and talk with them and communicate with them and have these open discussions about these kind of things to ensure that there's some equality going around, some thought process going into this. It's not going to be a one-size-fits-all solution. Every single solution is different, but it just takes time and communication and a lot of thought that goes into it.
Thank you, Ricky. Isabella.
Hi, I wanted to let Julia go first before I spoke since she was the president candidate, but I also had something to mention. Diversity and inclusion is really important to me because I'm a Latina woman. My mother is a Latina immigrant, and I can see what ignorance does to people. If anyone has seen in the news what happened in Atlanta, the Asian hate that's going on is just terrible, especially with COVID-19 and how people are relating that to them. Diversity is more than just a statement. It's more than just saying, hey, I'm not racist. I wasn't racist today, so I'm good. It's about being anti-racist, about taking the education behind different minority groups, knowing their history, knowing what they need to move forward, and actually doing things about them. Anybody can say they're not racist. Anybody can say that, oh, I haven't done this, I haven't done that. Oh, but what are you doing for them? What are you doing to move them forward? So I think that's what's important about diversity, is actually taking action, hearing these people out and knowing what you need to do, instead of just saying that you're anti-racist or just saying that you care about these people. Okay, you care, but what are you doing about it?
Thank you.
Yep, obviously this is a hard topic to have, with anyone who's been looking at media in the past year, has been seeing what's been going on. So I'd say the biggest thing to take away from this is just, yeah, like I know a lot of it, like mine's similar to what Izzy said too, just like listening to people, listening to their stories, because it's easy to have your own perception about it when you're not hearing from other people or hearing from certain groups. So I'd say that's just the key way to go about it, is just listening, having an open mind about it, and just saying like, okay, like, yeah, I haven't been doing or saying this, but have my actions really been helpful into kind of dismantling those issues? So yeah, just listening, communicating, seeing, like also, educating on history, just seeing, understanding like, okay, how did we get to here, and how long has it been like this, and how do we progress from here is just the biggest takeaway. So yeah, that's just how I believe is the proper way to go about it.
Thank you, Ronald.
I kind of want to go off what Julia said. She did an excellent job. One thing that we could also do for student government to help with that is to do possibly trainings between student government and the CSDI, and just to help students and people within student government understand what it's about, because I know there's a few people, they hear the stories and they don't know what those people feel, and to talk about that and for students to get training, it would help the students of SIUE with student government. If student government understands what it's about, then we can help the students understand what it's about.
Great, thank you, Mackenzie. Brittany.
First off, I want to say there have been some very great, excellent points made, a lot of awesome ideas being thrown out. I just wanted to say in general, this doesn't only apply to us as college students, and we are all in college to further our careers. So this is something that's really going to apply not only now, but in our professional lives as well later on down the road. Specifically, the reason I kind of came to that conclusion is because I work with, like, as a pharmacy student, and then later on down the road as a pharmacist, you're working with patients every day from a lot of different backgrounds. So it's really important that we're planting these seeds now, and with the awareness and the information that we're giving to further it on, not only as college students, but in our professional careers as well.
Great, thank you, Brittany. Anybody else want to answer or share their thoughts on this question? Hannah.
Hi, so I have personally worked with DEI for a while now within my sorority, and I think one of the biggest things that I've noticed is just making sure that all of the students are also involved in what we are discussing in DEI. I think one of the biggest things when we first started our DEI work within my sorority was just figuring out what students didn't understand or needed more education on as well, and then going from there. If we don't educate people, then they have no foundation to work on either. So making sure that that is a big component of what we are doing as well, and using people like the Vice Chancellor of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion that was just named, Dr. Jessica Harris, and other resources on campus is extremely important to aid in what student government is doing along the way as well.
Thank you, Hannah. Great. Another topic that seems to have come up for several folks is around this need for mental health and to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves and prioritizing our well-being. As a candidate for student government, how would you plan to address the growing mental health crisis on our campus? And what are your thoughts or maybe plans related to access to resources, education, and addressing mental health across a diverse student population? Mackenzie.
Yeah, so definitely, I know that in my personal experience, and for me, especially with the pandemic being all online, one of the greatest issues that I had to face was that for a long time, even though I might have had friends, I felt very alone. I felt very cooped up in my room, unable to interact with other people. I still don't know as many people as I feel like I should, being on this campus for an entire year now. So I think something that is so crucial is, especially as we are getting the vaccine rollout and we are coming closer to the light at the end of the tunnel, being able to create programs where students are able to interact with other students. For instance, in the School of Business, that could possibly look like a mentorship program if we felt like that was necessary. Maybe it's encouraging a lot of the clubs to just have nights that are fellowship nights where people can just come as they are, and whether it's playing Monopoly because we're business majors and we have to win at Monopoly, or if it's just talking to each other or whatever that might be. I think that that is something that's so important, and I know that it would take a lot of stress off of me to be able just to spend some time with other people in a relaxed environment.
Thanks, Mackenzie. Sean.
Yeah, so I think in terms of dealing with mental health, we definitely need to promote awareness of the resources that are available. And we can do that in a variety of means. We can have social media accounts that post outreach messages. We can post on flyers, around the school. And in terms of the actual resources themselves, I think we need to definitely, there's like a fine line in terms of how can we like promote success stories, but I feel like if we could reach out and have people voluntarily promote in videos or in forums in the Goshen Lounge on how they were able to be helped by the SIUE counseling services, I think that would definitely encourage a lot more people to pursue help if they need it.
Thanks, Sean. Isabella and Haley.
So I think, everyone knows that mental health is important, but as someone who's actually been through counseling here at SIUE, I'm not embarrassed to say that I've needed help and have been lucky enough to have resources here. It could be better, and that is not discrediting the counselors or anybody in health and counseling services, but I think there needs to be more education about how to handle some of the situations, and also more communications. I'm not the only one who has felt this and felt like there was poor communication between the health services and the students who need help, and especially as someone who went to counseling for stress and anxiety, having that lack of communication just put more stress on me. So I think creating a bridge and making sure that there is an ability to access health services instead of just saying that there is health services and that there is proper communication is really important. And I think it's also important that they have some training in terms of generational trauma and things that are involved with being a minority, whether that be race or anything like that. I think it's important that they have education on how to deal with that instead of just dealing with things like mental health issues.
Thank you. Mackenzie.
I definitely agree with Izzy and what she had to say. But also, if elected, I plan to have a resolution that will implement mental health days for students. I noticed, especially with the semester, students have been going nonstop. They have not had a break to just think about themselves and to focus on them mentally and emotionally. And with students don't get those days, they're going to feel burned out, and they're not going to succeed in their classes as much as what they could if they did have a break. So I believe that students should have mental health days to recuperate, and during these days, students or professors will not be allowed to assign or make anything due these days. It will help students just succeed in their classes to their full potential.
Thank you, Mackenzie.
Yeah.
We've had another candidate join us, so before the rest of everyone else shares, Alexia, if you'd like to introduce yourself, what position you're running for, and then your candidate statement if you have it available.
Hi, I'm Alexia Burnett. I'm running for Senator for School of Nursing, and my candidate statement is I am a second-year nursing student, and SIUE has become a beloved second home for me. And I have enjoyed serving as Senator for Nursing this year and being involved with the Finance Board, External Affairs Committee last year, ESA, New Horizons, and Student Nurses Association. And I hope to be a senator so I can share my love of SIUE while also helping fellow students succeed here.
Thank you, Alexia. Amina.
Much like Izzy, I've also used the counseling services here. And much like Izzy, I'm not ashamed to admit it. However, I know plenty of students that are, and I feel like there's still a very big stigma around mental health. And I feel like we need to continue to work to break down that stigma. And so people will feel more comfortable to seek out help when they need it, especially for first generation students. I know myself, my parents are not from around here, they're from another country, and in their country, it's very looked down upon. And so I grew up with that idea that it's wrong to seek out help when you need help. And it took me until this freshman year when COVID started and I started to feel isolated and alone that I finally got the courage to seek help even against their, what's the word I'm looking for, against their wishes. And I feel like there's a lot of first generation students here that probably feel the same way as I did. And I would like to help them out as well and let them know that it's okay.
Appreciate you sharing that, Amina, and being vulnerable. Taylor.
So I think that the mental health weeks that have been put on in the past have been amazing, but I would like to change that from just focusing on mental health one week to planning an event every single month with health services so that it's an ongoing issue that we talk about, just because I think it is so important, as well as posting weekly tips and facts on social media to allow SIUE students to talk about their experiences and also to promote the great services that SIUE does offer.
Thanks, Taylor. Maddie.
I really like Mackenzie's idea of the fall and spring breaks and implementing that. I know a lot of professors this semester tried to do a light week or sort of a break week in their syllabi, and I don't think that was enough. I know the burnout has been very real for me, and I'm sure a lot of you have been feeling it too. And I think we need to be able to do more for students to try to prevent that. I also agree with Izzy and Amina that we need to end the stigma about reaching out to mental health services for help. I know in the fall, mental health or counseling services at SIUE proposed to student government adding a fee for students every time you had an appointment with them. And student government very strongly advocated against that because we don't want anything to stand in the way of students being able to access those services. So for now, there is no fee. Hopefully we can keep it that way in the future because I think it's very important for us to have it as accessible to students as possible and to not discourage anyone because of the cost or the stigma around accessing that help.
Thanks, Maddie. Haley or Isabella?
It's Haley this time.
Okay.
Yes, I just wanted to add on to what Izzy said. And I would like to see teachers have a little bit more training and be a little bit more aware of mental health. Professors assign assignment after assignment, and a lot of times most professors are a little understanding if you bring up mental health, but they're not hyper aware of that, and they're not they don't take action beforehand. And I would just like to see some type of implementation of professors being more understanding of students' mental health, especially right now when we didn't get a break and we are in the middle of a pandemic where we can't see our friends, and we're already like, school is like the only thing that we are doing right now, really. So just teachers being, or professors being a little more aware of mental health. It's just one thing I wanted to add. That is all.
Thanks, Haley. Julia.
So just to bounce off of Haley and Izzy and really everyone else, burnout is a huge issue. It's something I think we've all experienced, especially with everything being virtual. The Zoom fatigue is real. It is our hope that, at least like 60% of like students will be on ground next semester. But with that, there are still going to be people who are virtual, and people don't want to go to like virtual events and stuff like that after being in class all day because they are so burnt out and we're just exhausted. But I think we really just need to like expand what counseling and health services has to offer in a virtual world and really encourage students to seek out that help, because that really will make a difference. And then again, with the stigma, like, I want to see student government do more to like say like, hey, it's okay to not be okay.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. Ronald.
Yeah, I was just going to add, I know this is kind of a culmination of what everyone else has said, but just, more normalization of mental health, just because I feel like if that were the case, people would be more likely to, open up about it and just not feel like they're being looked down upon for struggling with mental health. And I believe one way to best go about that is, like Mackenzie said, having mental health days, because by doing that, you're saying, okay, we're acknowledging that this is an issue, and we believe that by having these days off, we're allowing students to kind of spend time with themselves or have any different ways that they can best, deal with this. So I believe that's one way to go about it too. And also, I know like Julia mentioned, expanding on, virtual counseling. Because I know before the pandemic, I took advantage of counseling a lot too, just, being able to open up, talk about, what I've been struggling with and how I can best go about that. And ever since the pandemic happened, I haven't been on campus. So it's definitely been hard for me personally to, just reach out and just find ways to, find people to go out to for counseling and just dealing with that. So yeah, I'd say, expanding on, virtual options and also having breaks would definitely help students the most.
Thank you, Ronald. We're going to move on to our next question. For our president, vice president, or trustee candidates, what are some ideas that you have to better build stronger transparency to the student body and to communicate the value that student government brings to them? And for our senators, what are some ideas that you have to build better transparency and facilitate better communication with your constituents for the school, for the senator position that you are running for? Ricky.
So I mentioned this probably 2 or 3 times already. The first thing is going to be like the trustee video recaps. So I want to create some sort of video whenever we go to trustee meetings, or maybe even if it picks up even more to do for like student government meetings right after them, to just kind of talk about how these things are affecting the student body, to talk about what this is the line item that's going on, this is what's happening, and this is how it's going to affect you. Not like a minute item kind of thing, but just like a conversation that we're having between one another. That would be like the best way for me to create transparency. Other than that, I would say doing like email blast or email things, or just sort of like social media communication. That would be the best way to just create transparency and those kind of things.
Thank you, Ricky. Sean.
Yeah, what I believe is a good way to promote transparency is to have more documentation in terms of what us senators and people in student government are doing. And, you know, we publish like senator reports, but I think we need to go further than that. I think we need sort of like publicity campaigns and, you know, like similar to what Ricky was saying with like reaching out on social media. We need to be in our, you know, respective buildings or wherever our constituents are at. Like, for example, if you're an engineering senator, go in the engineering building and like reach out to people maybe like once a month or something, and sort of like give them the updates directly, like hand them like maybe like a sheet of paper explaining this is what all has gone down. These are the decisions I've made. This is how it's going to help you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sean. Isabella or Haley?
So I think that transparency is really important. And I think as vice president, as someone who kind of runs not a specific school or anything, I think it's important to work with student organizations. I think that's a really good way to reach out to more students and to get to know what they need. I think that a lot of student organizations on campus feel like they're not involved. They don't really have a say in things. I know, especially being a member of Alpha Phi, that sometimes I feel like there's like some sort of disconnect between student government and the students and student organizations. So I think that talking with them is really important and providing that communication.
Yeah, and on top of that, I know all of the clubs that I've been a part of have done some sort of report at the beginning of any meeting. So if there was a way that student government could, again, be in connection with the presidents of student organizations and give them information that they could then give out to their members, so that it's not like we are responsible for telling everyone everything we're doing. It's kind of like a delegacy thing where we tell the presidents of these organizations and then they pass on the information, so that it's, it also seems as a member of an organization, it would seem more important and more like something that I should listen to if the president of my personal organization was giving me that information, rather than one email that is sent out to every single student that goes SIUE who might not even check that email.
Thank you. Mackenzie.
I believe that transparency between students and between student government is very important. You need to build that trust so students can go to you. Student government is like a place that students can go to so they don't have to fight their own battles. And we will help them fight those battles. They will not like stand alone. So in ways that we can do that is to promote our social media and to reach out to students, not just about certain events, but just to make sure that they are safe and that they feel like they are represented.
Absolutely. Thank you. Seeing no one. Our next question really thinks about, as we've talked, I've heard a lot about goals and things that we want to put into action if elected for this upcoming board or upcoming student government. Accountability can be defined as taking ownership to ensure your priorities and your goals are achieved. How can SIUE students hold you and other student government members accountable for your actions and your commitments that you take while in office? Ricky.
So I would say the way that people can be held accountable would be to start off the beginning of the year with whatever your goal is going to be. And don't just say like, oh, this is my goal, blah, blah, blah. blah, blah, blah. Do like a SMART goal. Talk about the specific task, make it measurable, make it attainable, make it realistic, and make it timely. And then as you're going on throughout the year, talk about how you're achieving this goal and what you're doing to accomplish this goal. A part of our Senate reports and that I don't see a lot of people doing is they talk about they don't talk about their goals. One of the like templates, if you read it, it says in there, what are your goals for this semester and how are you accomplishing them and how are you reaching them? A lot of people don't put their goals in that. And if we started just saying, hey, what is your goal at the beginning of this semester, and then just started holding people more accountable. Vice President Akpin did this the first semester, and I thought it was a great idea. Time kind of got away from everything, so I don't think we really get to hold people accountable for it. But if we posted it somewhere public to where you could check it every day, maybe like on a website or something like that, maybe not like in Microsoft Teams deep in like a fourth folder file or something like that, but somewhere easy to access, you could easily see, okay, what is Senator Pruitt's goals for this year? Or what is Senator Shahan's like, goal for this year? Like those kind of things. It's just, you just have that written out there and you see what's available and what's going to happen.
Thanks, Ricky. Maddie.
I think student government needs to hold itself accountable. We need to hold each other accountable for our goals. It's very much a collaborative effort. So talking to your fellow senators, to your fellow exec board members, asking them what they need help with, helping them stay on track is very important to keep student government running smoothly. And for students that aren't involved in student government, if they feel that we are not properly representing the students and want to hold us accountable, many students don't actually realize this, but you can speak in a Senate meeting in the open forum section. So if any students are watching, if you watch our Senate meetings on YouTube in a similar way, there is a comment section and you can have your opinion heard by student government.
Thanks, Maddie. Isabella or Haley?
Bouncing off of Maddie, I think it is important to hold each other accountable and hold ourselves accountable. I think when we talk about our goals, it should be in a specific manner, which makes me agree with Ricky as well. Like we, instead of saying, hey, we want to help with mental health, how are we helping with mental health? Diversity, like how are you helping with diversity? I think it's important to have reachable, attainable goals and showing your progress through it. Of course, not everything's going to go through. You're not going to be successful in everything that you try to do, but I think it's important that we are showing some progress in some sort of way because that's our job and that's what we're supposed to be doing.
And I'm going to add on to that as well. When we are presenting our platforms to people, I like to emphasize that they're all attainable things. They're all achievable. What we want to accomplish is something that can be accomplished. It's not like way out there. Like we're not saying we want a football team on campus. That's not necessarily attainable. So I think that students voting for senators and president, vice president, and trustee that have achievable goals would be holding student government accountable in and of itself.
Thank you for both of you sharing. For anyone who hasn't shared, maybe more personally connected to this question is, how do you hold yourself accountable to achieving the goals that you have?
I can go. So in terms of self-accountability, I know when I ran for senator and VP last year, I had different goals that I wanted, and I let people that were also running for student government know about it too, just so that, say if we ever, run into each other, whether it's office hours or having any casual discussion, they can kind of be like, yeah, so how have you been doing with your goals? Which that's been a huge topic of discussion with me and other student government members. So that definitely reminds me like, hey, I need to, remind myself I need to get this done. And also even letting other constituents know about it too is definitely another way for self-accountability, even when you're telling others, because it's like they can always remember that, hey, so-and-so said they were going to do this, so-and-so said they were going to work on this, just so that, you can always be reminded that I need to do this. And I just wanted to add also with accountability, I would say that besides communication, accountability is another way that your constituents feel like they're genuinely being represented, because by having accountability, you are having this reminder that, hey, I promised I was going to get this done. I promised I was going to do this. And I'm not just saying it, I'm not just saying it because like, oh, it sounds good. I'm saying it because I want to get it done. It's something that I'm not going to forget to do. So yeah, that's just how I'd say accountability should be shown in how it's important with our positions.
Thanks, Ronald. Sean.
I would say an important part of self-accountability is setting goals and reporting on not just the goals you achieved, but what you didn't achieve. So it's really easy to, write a Senate report or talk during a meeting, for example, and say, hey, look, I finished these things that I told you guys about a month ago. However, there are many goals you might make and you might fall short, or it might be like somewhere in the middle, some gray area. And I think it's way too convenient for people to just, accidentally forget about some goals they made, they, happen to not accomplish. So I definitely think in terms of like my personal accountability, I try really hard to, report on what things I was not able to accomplish in addition to the things I was able to accomplish.
Thanks, Sean. Julia.
So something I think would be really beneficial to the entire student body is if the student government creates student government wide goals, like at least 3 goals that we all work on together, as well as the individual goals. And then in regard to accountability, I hold myself accountable, in my schoolwork, with my actual job, and just really everything I do. But in student government specifically, as a senator, I set my goals at the beginning of the year with these accessibility resolutions, and it's been difficult, but I'm definitely almost there, finished with the first one, and I do have 3 of them. But I think it would be best if we all work together. And then also Vice President Akpan has been doing really good with those check-ins, and I want to see those continue as well.
Thanks, Julia. So our last question that we have, it's March 2022. You are elected into the position that you are running for. You're coming up on the last month of your term. How do you know that you've made a difference or that you've made an impact on the SIU student body? I've also put the question in chat, I know it's a little bit of a long question. So. Isabella and Haley.
Okay, so I would reflect on the year and look back to today and all of the goals that I have set for myself as the potential student body president for next year. And accomplishing those goals would be kind of like the bare minimum of what I would like to see in a year from now. I would like to have grown and developed and done more for SIUE than I could have ever thought of right now. I am just so sure that there are things that are going to come up that I'm going to need to work on and accomplish that I think it's not even possible for me to fathom those things right now. So looking back on the year and seeing that I did everything I said I was going to do, and I did even more than that as well. That's how I would see that I had an impact on the SIUE student body. And this is gonna
go. Bouncing off of Haley, I was going to say reaching goals is one thing, but I think there's more to be done. As an activist, as someone who has done rallies, I did the Black Lives Matter rally. I planned that. I planned the March for Our Lives. I've planned so many rallies. It wasn't planned in terms of, I didn't plan this 6 months before, because you don't know what is going to be needed moving forward. You don't. So I think reaching our goals, our platforms is one thing, but also knowing, being able to change and being comfortable with change and being comfortable with moving forward is also really important. So if I can look back satisfied, if I can look back and said, yes, I did what I needed to do, but I also did more, like Haley said, I think that's really important.
Thank you for sharing. Ricky.
So 2 things. One, we would have more students aware of what student government can do for them as far as their organization and as far as for the individual. If it means giving money in order for them to go to a certain event, or if it means helping them out to start their club or organization in some facet or order. The idea would be that more students would know how to go about this process in a lot easier manner, or just be able to come to us to speak about anything. Secondly, it would be seeing more students at our open forum. It'd be seeing students that are voicing their opinion in front of us at the end of our Senate meetings, or saying stuff that they think really matters to them. Because I truly believe that there are students here that have opinions that they want to express, but they don't know about the open forum, or something's just not communicated to them, and they don't know how to communicate what they're having the issue with. So if we increase the transparency, that would be how I would know that I did a good job.
Thanks, Ricky. Maddie.
I think in student government, we have plenty of big events and big initiatives that we plan, and it's very easy to use those as a measure of how well you did in your position. But I also think, reflecting on my past year and a half in student government, it's when I have one student that emails me and asks for help with something specific and I'm able to help them and make a difference for them. Little interactions like that, I think, really make me realize the difference and the impact that I've made on SIUE and can continue to make next year.
Thank you, Maddie. Julia.
So bouncing off of what a lot of other people just said, really just self-reflection, I think, is probably the best thing. Like, did I meet my goals? Did I do what I say I was going to do? Is the student body better because I was in this position?
Thank you. Mackenzie.
So one way that I would know that I made a difference or an impact on the student body is also meeting my goals, and also getting feedback from students, because if the students aren't feeling better after I completed my goals, then there was no point in completing my goals, because it didn't make students succeed overall. So I think getting feedback and making sure that students are also doing well while I completed my goals is another thing that makes me realize that I'd made a difference.
Thanks, Mackenzie. Anybody else want to share? Not seeing any. I just want to thank you all for attending the first of these two debates. Our second debate will be tomorrow, Tuesday, March 23rd at 11. Please remember, elections are going to be on Tuesday, March 30th and Wednesday, March 31st. And I will turn it back over to the election commissioner, Carson Brim, for some final remarks.
I just want to say thank you to everyone for attending, to anyone that sent in questions. As Tyler said, the second debate will be tomorrow, also from 11 to 12:30. The question submission link is on Get Involved. So if you know anyone who wants to submit questions, send them there. To anyone who watched on YouTube, thank you so much. If any of the candidates or anyone wants to invite friends to watch tomorrow, I can send an email reminder tomorrow, also including the YouTube link. Candidates will still meet on Zoom, everyone else on the YouTube stream. I really enjoyed hearing what everyone had to say today, and I look forward to another successful forum tomorrow, and hope you all have a great rest of your day.